Call the OnPoint March 18th Board of Directors meeting to order. Will all rise for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll now take the roll. Megan, did Kimberly, give a pre-notice or not?
And through me.
Okay, then Kimberly is an excused absence. Pam Brenner,
Here.
Ben Brookhouse. Here. Jessica Castaneda,
Here.
Mark DeYoung. Here. Crystal Deal.
Here.
And everyone, this is our newest member, that is with us tonight. Thank you very much for, deciding to put your, self out here and participate with this board. We welcome you. Gail Dugan's here, Beth Johnson,
Here.
Alice Kelsey.
Here.
Robin Clay is not here and we'll be dealing with that later. Jane Levine.
Yeah.
And, Karen Stratton.
Here.
We have a quorum. Appreciate, everyone's attendance. At this time is our first provision for public comment. Is there anyone in the room that would like to address the board on agenda items? 5 minutes, per, speaker. Is there anyone that would like to comment to the board? Second call. Hearing none. Mrs. Hamilton, is there anyone online?
Is there anyone online that would like to address the board regarding the agenda?
Hearing none, we'll close that provision for public comment. The next is the approval of the agenda. Is there any additions, corrections to the agenda? I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Motion by Alice Kelsey. Do I have a support?
Support.
Support by Beth. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there anyone that would like to remove anything from the consent agenda at this time? Hearing none or seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Glenn. Do I hear a support?
Support.
Support by Jane. All in favor say yes.
Yes. We have to correct that, the 25/9/47 prior minutes.
Well, we have a correction to those minutes that was approved in the finance committee. Just to bring your attention to that, on page 5, the item under the final CCBHC numbers, there was a transposition of numbers. It should read 25,947 instead of 497. Okay, everyone mark that on there. Okay. Thanks for the catch. Is there any further discussion or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say yes. Vote. All in favor say yes.
Yeah.
All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us down to program committee. Ms. Kelsey, will you take the floor?
Yes, we had a presentation today from the Access Crisis and Mental Health Treatment Court. And main things that I wanted to mention is that the Access team said that they are fully staffed. And that the changes that they have gone from making appointments to doing walk-ins and same day is going well. Which is kind of a good thing because they also gave us some statistics and they've gone from 300-ish in a year's worth to over 1,000 the last couple of years. So the demand is certainly, and I asked them very professionally, is your staff at this level most of the time or is it at this level most of the time? And they said most of the time here. So I think they are fully staffed and staffed at a level that I think we can continue to meet the demand. The mental health court is doing well. They said they have the 10 or 12, 10 current, and they've had an absence. They've had a vacancy with their peer staff, but they just hired somebody, so they were good to hear that. And then Janine gave us a presentation of the evidence-based practices and the work that she's been doing along with everyone to make sure that we are adhering to those practices that CCBHC requires. And in that with letting us know that there are some trainings that have been set up and some working with trying to, what should they call them, champions, staff members that have some, expertise in a particular kind of mentoring with someone who maybe needs that. And that all sounded like that was going well. And then the very last thing, she actually said it with a smile on her face. I would have been a little worried. She said that we're going to have our first site review of CCBHC in May, which and the other thing is, it's only gonna be for one day. So in a way, I think that's kind of good, because like, how much could you cover in a day, right? I was afraid they're gonna be here for a week, So anyway, I would say in general, things sounded like they were going smoothly. And that's my report.
Is there any questions for Mrs. Kelsey on the program report? Hearing none, thank you very much for your report this evening. Mrs. Johnson, finance report.
Okay, it's where I'm at. Starting on page 7, just to highlight, the human resources, information technology and facilities. Under human resources on that second paragraph, the HR cloud product is up and running and the annual appraisals have been happening through that in February and March. One thing that was kind of hanging out last month was the earned sick time app. And when that came through, we have such a nice benefits package that it didn't impact us at all. It was a non-issue. So that was good. One thing that is still hanging out there is the minimum wage. And if it goes from the $10.52, like up to $12, there, will some of these providers come back and ask us that additional wage, that they have to pay out, and it has to come from somewhere. So we're still looking at that. The fiber is still out on the roadside and they're working diligently to get that all the way to the back. Look, after that committee meeting, I will not go into it because there's a lot of, you got to be licensed and not licensed because you're dealing with the Department of Transportation in the state of Michigan because you're by the road. So, but we are working on it. So, as for the finances, we're going to skip over to page, what is this? Page 13. It's not numbered, but it's page 13. it's the summary of schedule of revenue and expenses, and the piece I really want to highlight tonight, and Andre, you might have to help me out here, is that for the CCBHC, last year's rate for a visit was $523, so it was up here. It just came in for this year, which is retroactive to October 1st. So 523 last year to 417 this year. And we had to go back. The good part is Andre and all the finance budget people budgeted at 409 for the entire year. So we're a little bit, we were safe and conservative for that. That's the good news. What we're concerned about right now is that we don't have enough daily visits coming in. And, you know, let me check my notes. To get to break even point, we need just over 9,000 visits a month. That's what's projected to break even. And currently for the first 4 months, we're just over like 8,300. So we're a little bit behind, but we're, you know, working with operations, working with the coding, working to make sure charts are signed on time and so forth. And just making a real team effort for the whole organization to kind of buckle down on this a little bit. So that's that part. On that page 13, if you go to the far right column in that Medicaid subtotal, there's 374,036. That's expected to go back to the LRE. And then the general fund, 3 numbers down on that far left column, the 31,310 is expected to go back to the state based on the first 4 months here. So, any questions on that page? Okay. Where are we at? I think the net position is pretty much looking about the same and solid, and there's really no issues there. Going on to page 15, this is basically our revenue and expense report. We're 1/3 of the way through the year, 33.33% for the year. And if you go down the far right column, we noticed that Healthy Michigan capitation is at 41%. That's a positive, that's a good thing, because we have more enrollments. Our enrollments are higher than what was expected. So that's good. Down in expenses, in the far right column, the 14% on supplies, the 24% on contractual services, and 9% on miscellaneous expense is basically staffing limitations, because we need the correct people to perform the activities so we can expense out those areas. The total change in net position, it's the 3rd line from the bottom. Year to date, the middle number is 170,412. So we're still doing good, but things are getting tighter and tighter. So, Andre, you want to add anything to that?
No, just to clarify, the 8,000 that you had mentioned, that's really a representation. We're talking about the daily visits for the CCBHC. That was our actual for 4 months.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and the 9,000 was for 4 months of budget.
Yeah.
So year to date, we're 900 units or daily visits behind our adjusted budget. So just clarification, it wasn't 8,000 a month.
Right.
That's all.
It was in my head.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
So, okay, we do have to pay the bills still. So let's bounce back to page 9. And I make the motion to recommend that the OnPoint Board approves the February 2025 disbursements totaling $3,690,738.12.
Do I hear a support for that motion?
Support.
Support by Glenn. Is there any further discussion of that motion? This will be a roll call. Pam Brenner,
Yes.
Ben Brookhouse,
Yes.
Jessica Castaneda,
Yes.
Mark DeYoung,
Yes.
Crystal Dale,
Yes.
Gail Dugan says yes. Beth Johnson,
Yes.
Alice Kelsey,
Yes.
Jane Levine.
Yeah.
And Karen Stratton.
Yes.
That motion carries. Please proceed.
Okay, on page 10, this doesn't deal directly with money, but it is giving Mark the ability to enter into an agreement. It's over basically a purchase card for OnPoint. And you can read the positives or the benefits of it in the summary. But I do move I do move that the OnPoint Board approve Mark Woody to enter into an agreement with Huntington Bank for a Huntington Bank merchant credit card.
Do I hear support for that motion?
Or
Support by Jane. Is there any further discussion of this before we take a roll call? Mark, would you go and basically say, this is something that we already have?
Yeah.
From another company. Huntington Bank has a local office.
Right.
And that is part of the reason we're changing.
That's right. We do our business banking with Huntington Bank. We're just simply switching a credit card from a company that we have with Dow to Huntington Bank. So it's really just changing the credit card vendor.
Is there any further questions? Hearing none. I don't believe we're spending money on this. So all in favor say yes.
yes,
All opposed? The motion carries. Is there anything further from finance?
no, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your report. This evening. Recipient Rights Advisory Committee. Mr. Brookhouse.
Thank you. We did meet and we continue to meet quarterly. So our numbers are on page 19, but I will hit the page 20 first is our annual report goals, which are set for 2025 that the director put together. And then as a committee, we also received training on some policy review. Policies we covered were the notification of recipient rights advisory committee, expectations, and then incident reporting. And then going to page 19, because I have a feeling there'll be a couple of questions for Kelsey. Our quarterly for December to February, our allegations were 61. And the quarter before that, they were 24. So this is where I anticipate there may be questions. And our recipients' right team is also extremely busy because right now we are contracting also with Van Buren to help them out. So they have part of that caseload. But if you look at the timeline, our timeliness report, you'll see that they're doing very well with keeping in compliance with the state's expectations of 90 days or less on addressing issues. So that is a quick synopsis of our meeting. Are there any questions about it?
Is there any questions for Chairman Brookhouse at this time on recipient rights? Yes, Mrs. Johnson.
I noticed that neglect 3, abuse 3, and the abuse class 1, collectively, there's like 12 different allegations. Is that a normal amount for those class 3s?
So for abuse 3, neglect 3, and then did you name abuse 1 as well, or?
Class 1, the second one.
So class 1 is very abnormal. So that abuse, class 1 sexual abuse, I think it's been roughly 3 or 4 years since we've had even a single allegation in that category, and we had 2 in this reporting period. 1, you'll see next timeline, that investigation just came due, but is still actively being investigated by law enforcement. So we're extending it, which is an approved exception, for the mental health code. The other one, I do anticipate closing, on time. And then I would say overall, so there's the increase in allegations and an overall increase in severity. And then a continued high amount of mental health services due to condition allegations. And there is a pretty, I mean, I am speaking from memory here. I didn't crunch the numbers, but there's a pretty even split internal versus external cases.
Is there any further questions? Is there any further questions?
I'm thinking. I just don't know what to ask, because if those are higher number, I just.
I do hope, that one of the goals that we outlined, for annual report goals is about collecting some information from providers and staff of all levels to kind of try to get a sense of what is happening and how can we improve this? Because we are seeing the increase in allegations. So this reporting period is just starting to come due, so I don't know the substantiation rate here, but our substantiation rate of fiscal year 24 was roughly 40%, and it was 30 the year before. So we're seeing the increase in numbers and the increase in actual substantiations. So I think we need to both analyze those substantiations as they exist, but then also start to ask more questions during training, and we're exploring what it would look like to do some sort of survey, because something's broken, and so we need to figure out what that is so we can fix it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the answer I needed. I just didn't know what I was asking.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any further questions?
No.
Right. Is there any other further questions? Thank you very much this evening, Glenn and Kelsey. I'll entertain a motion to accept and file the recipient rights report. This is just buttons it up.
Okay.
Motion made by Glenn.
I'll make the motion.
All right. And do I have a support for that?
Support.
Support by Jessica. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Thank you very much for your time and effort on that. These are some of the most vulnerable that we tried to take care of. And they're working tirelessly to do that. But I do appreciate us lending a hand to Van Buren to do that. That's above and beyond. And thank you for helping out our neighbors. So, all right. Do we have, who we have on, Stephanie Vanderkoy is here from the LRE. Stephanie, you have the floor.
Great, thank you so much. My apologies for not being there in person. My day did not permit me to drive there, so I do apologize. But I do have 5 super quick updates for the group this evening. One of the things I wanted to start with was to let you know that in our agency, we have made a change in our quality department. We had a chief quality officer, and that individual left in early February. So we are looking to replace that individual. We had a candidate, and then they actually received a position elsewhere. So we're moving on now to Plan B, but there will be some changes with that department. One of the changes that is occurring with that is that that position will be moving under my department now and not being its own department. So hopefully at next month's meeting, I'll be able to provide you a better update on what we're doing there, but definitely some changes internally. One of the other things I wanted to mention to this group as well too is that we still have not signed our MDHHS fiscal year 25 contract. I know I've shared that information before here with this board. There were 3 areas of the contract we were uncomfortable with, and so there were 5 other PIHPs who did sign the contract and then 5 who did not, with LRE being one who did not. 4 of those 5 are suing MDHHS. LRE has chosen to not do so. I don't believe we will be, but our board will be discussing that next month. So I wanted to let you know there is no change there, no update at this point. One of the other things I wanted to mention too to the group is that our board is meeting next week, Wednesday, at the Grand Valley Muskegon location. One of the things that may be occurring next week with our board meeting is we might move the time instead of 1 p.m. to 1:30. There's a slight change of plans in that day. So tomorrow we're having a meeting to determine if we can do that. So for those of you who normally join online, I just wanted to let you know that might be occurring. We may make that half-hour change, but we'll make sure Marion from our office sends that communication out so everybody knows. One of the other things I wanted to mention as well too is you may have got a copy of this, but on February 28th, MDHHS sent out a press release. It was to their typical e-blast, which is vast in the state of Michigan, to providers, consumers, PIHPs, CMHs, and basically everyone that they send their normal press releases to. And in this press release, it has a survey. The survey asks a multitude of questions about how an individual perceives their services. Within that press release, one of the items that MDHHS did was they put in there that they were planning to use those results from the survey to indicate that they were planning on bidding out the PIHPs. I can assure this board this was news to us and every other PIHP. We have not heard that the state was planning to bid us out. And so to receive it in an email in that fashion was just very unnerving. And I will share also that we have been doing our best to get information about this, get further details, and we really haven't received any details from MDHHS. Everything that we're hearing is hearsay at this point. We have not received any formal timeline or any formal communication besides that press release. So I just wanted to let you know that that will be a topic we will be discussing next week at our board meeting. Additionally, those of you probably have awareness, but Bob Sheehan and his group at Community Mental Health Association of Michigan is doing their best to obtain as much information as this on this as they can, with the idea that they will likely be doing some form of advocacy or an action alert, things of that nature. So as soon as we have more information on this, we'll be happy to share it with the board, and I know your director will as well. But just wanted to let you know that that is happening. The one thing that press release did say was that they expected this to be done in 2 years. So that is, again, a news flash to us at the PIHP world. And like I said, we'll continue to get more details and we'll share it as they become available. The only other thing I wanted to mention as well is I think I've shared with this group, and I believe Mary shared it the last time she was here, was that the state has indicated that the $13.7 million that we owed to them from back in fiscal year 18 and 19, that you may recall, we did actually sue MDHHS, and the judge had indicated to us that we did not owe MDHHS that funding. MDHHS is saying that we do. So sadly, we have had to get our litigator involved to work with the Attorney General's office to figure out where is this disconnect on why they believe we owe the money and we believe we don't. And so they're trying to work it out without us having to go to the judge and have the judge make the final ruling. But I do want to let you know that is one other area that we're dealing with as well right now. And again, will also be discussed next week at our board of directors meeting. So many large moving parts happening right now at the LRE. So I will pause there, Mr. Chairman, to see if you have any questions for me.
Thank you very much. Does there anyone have any questions for Mr. Dandiboy? Hearing none. Stephanie, Mr. Whitty has been keeping us fairly abreast of this as it comes involved. We trust that you will be keeping it and sharing information with him as this unfolds, and we appreciate your effort on our behalf. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other concerns or questions that'd like to be asked? Thank you very much for your report this evening, Stephanie. Now we'll go on to the chairman's executive committee report. We have, met on Friday. And let me get that, up here real quick. We had, very, similar, very good meeting. And, Mr. Whitty, do you want to, share, the compliance update, or do you want me to?
I can share that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have been, for quite some time, aware of the problem that had been identified, related to our staffing arrangements for the ACT program, Assertive Community Treatment Program. In that they, for a period of time, varied over a period of time as to whether or not they were technically in compliance with the requirements for credentialing for those positions. And so then the question comes up, well, if you don't have staffing with proper credentials, then bills that you billed for that or report to the state, whatever, are really not in compliance either. So there were a lot of issues around that, because it goes back to 2017 and continues forward. And 2017, for those that weren't around at that time, was a time when we were trying very desperately to find ways to reduce program costs by about $4 million. So, and some of the standards that are in place today were not the way they were back in 2017 either. So it took a good bit of research to figure it out. The LRE became involved, of course, because we involved them anytime there's a question about compliance and billing from them. And this has gone kind of a long arc of study. The ultimate answer to this was that there are probably differences of opinion about whether or not what was in place was compliant or not. What we eventually did was we asked, with the help of the LRE, for a waiver of the rules that existed at the time, and to find us that we were exempted, if you will, given an exception for the period of time that may be out of compliance. They looked at the information and agreed that that was in order, and sent us a letter, sent the LRE a letter saying that the matter is basically, from their perspective, covered by this exception. The compliance question is closed, the matter is resolved, and all of those years of payment questions and whatever have been put to bed. So the good news is that it's been taken out of harm's way in terms of a potential for payback on a fairly substantial level. The part that we're still doing, though, is really working to make sure that we've got very solid staffing, that it very carefully crosses T's and dots I's in terms of being right for what's expected under the current Medicaid manual. And that we are working to, anytime there's a question, we certainly are going to be consulting with the region, working with the state to make sure that we are being audited properly, monitored regularly by the state, and should not fall into this problem again. So good news, and I think a strengthened program as a result. So
That's the report on compliance. We also had a brief update on the PAIHP contract, which Stephanie just gave us. The board membership with the Board of Commissioners have reappointed Karen Stratton and a Deborah Morris from Finville to the board. We reviewed the key tasks by month. We looked at the nominations and elections report from the nominations committee. We looked over the approved bylaws and board policies, and we will thinking about distributing the conflict of interest forms here in the near future. We also had the board meeting packet. We went over that. We also had a chat about the federal funding chaos that we're experiencing right now. And the LRE Oversight Policy Board, the Public Act 2 funding for substance abuse services. Then we had discussion because some people are going to be out of town and it's to the next date, all that. But our next meeting will be before the main board meeting on the 15th day of April at 3 o'clock. So that shouldn't interfere with anything else because recipient rights doesn't mean. So, with that, that's the executive committee section. Mr. Whitty, would you like me to do the bylaws and policies together, or do you want them separated? Okay. I need, at this time, is there any other corrections or concerns about the bylaws? You've had them for 2 months and gone over them. We've had discussion last month. So today's the time to be approving them and setting in stone. Is there any concerns, questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bylaws.
I move to approve the bylaws.
Motion by Johnson to approve the bylaws. Do I hear support? Support by Karen. All in favor of that, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Motion carries. Now the policies. Is there any changes to the policies that anyone wants to discuss or discuss them as a packet or anything else? Seeing no raised hands, I'll entertain a motion to approve the bylaw, the policy.
Motion to approve the policy and procedures.
Motion by Jessica to approve the policy.
Support.
Support by Glenn. And if this is correct. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of that, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed, that motion carries. Next on the agenda is going back through here to page, let me grab it here real quick. You have the nominating committee report. Page 30 of your packet. Mr. Brookhouse, would you like to, you want me to take care of that by reading it?
Absolutely, if you want.
Okay. The nominating committee has set forth the people for taking care of positions here. They were entrusted to select and put forward a name for chairperson, vice chairperson, treasurer, and secretary. Their report and synopsis is Alice Kelsey was nominated as chairperson and submitted to this board as the new chair. For form, do you want these done each separately or?
Probably should be, wouldn't you think?
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to confirm Alice Kelsey as chair.
I move to confirm Alice as chair.
And that is by Beth. Do I hear support? Support. Support by Karen. All in favor, say yes.
Yeah.
The nomination committee has put forward, if I read this correctly, Jane Levine as vice chair. No,
She respectfully declined.
respectfully declined.
Commissioner DeYoung nominated myself.
Okay, I see. Okay, it was supported by Jane. Boy, you're quick on getting that. Ben Cookhouse was nominated for vice chair. Do I hear support?
I support that.
Do I hear all approve? Everyone in the room?
Yes, yes, yes.
The shock's wearing off, right, Beth?
No, I'm gonna sneeze or something.
Okay. Kleenex is right there. Beth Johnson was nominated to be treasurer. Do I hear support for that?
Support.
Protecting them.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna give that to Pam.
Thank you.
And all in favor of that motion, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed? Congratulations. And Commissioner DeYoung was nominated as secretary. I make that motion. Do I hear a support?
Support.
All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
We now have a new executive committee. As to the bylaws, if for everyone's edification, I will be remaining on there as the past chair, so you're not losing me, we're just gaining.
Okay.
On the next page, one of my duties as chair, outgoing chair, is to list and nominate everyone for different committees. And you have a list on page 31. The one I probably should take care of this other piece of business first, before I go on to that. We have received, from, Dr. Clay, a resignation because of health reasons. And I'll briefly, try to, summarize this. I am so sorry about my silence. She's had some problems with her left shoulder. And anytime that she thought she could get get it taken care of, she will be going under surgery to a replacement. And I hope you will find a good replacement soon. And please share this with all the board. And I think it would be best for me to resign from the board. I was so glad to serve on the board, and I'm very impressed with the work done by all of you at OnPoint. And that was signed Robin Clay. So I'll ask for a motion to accept that resignation.
Move to accept Robin's resignation.
And support.
Or
With regrets. Everyone in favor of that motion, say yes.
yes.
All opposed? And we will send out a letter and procure a plaque. With this, and now with that, on page 31, Dr. Robin Clay served on the program committee, and I am looking to replace her with Deborah Morris, who has just come on the board. Our bylaws say that we're supposed to have no more than 6 on each committee. And we pretty well have filled that out. And so I submit this listing for your ratification. Is there any changes to any positions that I have listed here? Is there any changes? Is there any changes? I have entertain a motion to accept this as our new, roster for committees. Do I hear support?
Support.
Support by Jane. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed? We have our new roster and working, boards and commissions. With this, not quite done with my chairman's report. I do have one of the things that, bring me, sadness, but joy as, folks change and move, through their lives. Pam, would you, join me up front here with Mr. Whitty? It is the tradition of OnPoint to, give a plaque and recognition of your service. And I would like to read this, from OnPoint, caring for all of Allegan County. This award is presented in appreciation to Pam Brenner. On behalf of the staff and the board of OnPoint, thank you for your dedication to the citizens of Allegan County and for your service on the board, 2023 through 2025. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
Thank you. Thank you.
And now
Absolutely.
you
Thank
have a
you.
chance to say anything.
Oh, I'm not from here. That's not my perspective. No, so, I just have an incredibly busy life at the moment, and unfortunately, something just needed to kind of come off of my plate. I didn't have the time, and I know it's only one meeting a month, so I should have the time, and I just simply don't. So, I'm happy that there's some predecessors coming, that hopefully will be able to be here a lot more than I am. So, I appreciate everything I've learned and all of you and meeting all of you, and, I'm not good at speeches, so that's all I got. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Ann.
I wasn't in charge of the beverages or desserts, so.
Oh, sorry, you need a joke at the same time.
Oh, so did I.
Oh, shoot.
With that, I don't think there's anything else that I have to cover, under, my section of the, agenda. Mr. Whitty, your report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Again, thanks to Pam for the time that she spent on the board. It's when you go to recruit individuals who have an interest in coming to a group of people who are doing really important work. But at this altitude, there's sometimes folks who would love to kind of get involved with programs, and you never get a chance to really do that except for when you hear from folks at the program committee. So it just takes a special person who's willing to say yes in the first place. And then to carry out the role of a public appointed official for this board. So really appreciate the time and energy you put into it. And always comes a time when you have to say goodbye to, but you're part of a long line of people who served this community well. So thank you again. I'm just going to highlight a few things from my board report. It starts on page 38 in the packet. I'm going to skip right down to the community section related to the funding concerns. So I get questions a lot about whether or not we're hearing any impacts of, I guess, federal funding threats, whether they begin to impact our work or not.
We did get a notice, we don't know if it was related, but we did get a notice that one of our federal grant officers was no longer employed in her role, but presumably would be replaced by somebody else. And then I put in my report about the work that is being done in this community to sort of stay very vigilant in human services community about potential impacts, and they say they're all potential at this point. So all of the programs that are listed as part of the social safety net are, if you listen to the rhetoric federally, are threatened. None of them have been affected yet, although there have been abrupt, changes in staff at the agencies themselves at the federal level. A number of interventions at the federal court level have prevented actions from going into place that would reduce budgets. We were notified, of course, that we would be, that certain funding, particularly for our housing programs, were on hold and then have been released. So no harm done, I suppose, there. The uncertainty is really, I think, what is doing the damage right now internally as well as in the community. So, but we're staying very vigilant and attempting to advocate wherever we can to make our voices known about the expectations we have locally for those services for the people we serve to be continuously provided. So that we have opportunities to do that on behalf of the agency through our state and federal local representatives, and we're doing that. So we'll continue. You never know what's tomorrow, but we are meeting tomorrow with the Community Mental Health Association Legislative Policy Committee. And I know this will be a very key conversation as a part of that group. So I'll report back in April on anything that comes from it. I appreciated Stephanie's points, as mentioned on page 39 relative to the LRE. They are, this is kind of a moment of pausing for the clawback, the monies that she referred to, that $13.7 million. So there has been first efforts to pull that back out of the region's funding. It's been isolated now into an escrow fund that is neither in the state budget nor in the LRE's budget while the dispute is being ironed out. So that's how that's being handled at the moment. I'll continue a little bit though on the notice that she referred to at the bottom of page 39 and following to page 40 about the announcement around PHP procurement. I spoke a little bit with the executive committee on Friday about how our state system has been structured in a way that makes this kind of action, it seems a little silly sometimes, it seems funny to us. If you go back to the way the community mental health system was founded, the legislation that is now our mental health code talks about how the responsibility for serving individuals in the community with serious mental illness and developmental disabilities is the county's responsibility. And the state supports that. That's the way it was supposed to work in our community. The mental health code has provisions in it that allow for CMHs to join together to create regional entities, which we now call PHPs. And so PHPs are not an entity of the states. They're an entity belonging to the CMHs that created them. So when the state goes to say, we're going to re-procure, you kind of go from who, right? They're not businesses. They're creations of the local communities that form them. And so part of what's being talked about that Stephanie mentioned was that the association is doing its homework legally and all that. I think the foundation of this is really gives the state kind of shaky ground on which to do procurement. The other thing that's kind of funny about it, and I talked with Alice a little more carefully about this, but the survey that's being asked, people's satisfaction with various elements of the system, in most cases are not the functions that PHPs play. The functions that they ask about, things like, what do you think about the adequacy of services available to you through these different professionals, or the array of providers that are available to you? Those might be responsibilities of the PHP under contract, but they're managed by CMHs. You approve providers for our provider panel. It's not the LRE's provider panel, it's OnPoint's provider panel. And so again, to suggest that the input of people about their satisfaction with provider panels doesn't really help much, it seems to me, or shouldn't help much with the decisions that are being made down the road about PHP decisions. And then I put in the report too, that even the timeline makes me a little curious. You know, we're reaching the point where the current governor's administration will end on December 31 of 2026. This was announced as being something that's slated to take effect, a new PHP situation by on October 1 of 2026. Now that assumes between now and then that there's no delay in anything, right? And that everything runs perfectly smooth. Those of you who work in state government know that that's maybe not always the timeline. So it's just kind of a curious timeline. It kind of begs the question about whether or not it's feasible in the first place. So what's really going on? And we don't really have answers to that. So I can't tell you, but this doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to us. It doesn't seem to be founded on really good, solid, legal, work. It's not how the CMHs and PHPs were created. The state is really the one who forced PHPs to exist. I know that the language in the draft, but the language in the announcements, which I put in your folder on page 41, includes a quote from Sherry Boyd, who's the executive director of the ARC. I talked with her after this came out and just sort of asked a little bit about, so is she hearing anything from Allegan, the ARC folks in Allegan? I also talked with our local Allegan ARC office to ask if they're hearing things about needs that are not being met or satisfaction that isn't high enough, but that things that we're disappointing folks in. And it didn't seem to really be that. From the consumers, the people who are the advocates for the people we serve, in addition to us, feel like there's too much money spent on that level of infrastructure, that level of administration for our systems. I can't argue against that. But I will say that a good share of the expectations that result in that infrastructure, that result in those expenses, are activities and functions that the state has asked us to perform. So those aren't going away. So today, somebody who's being served in Allegan County or by Allegan County wants to come complain about their services, they can come right here. They can talk to Kelsey, talk to me, they can sit right here, you and the board. They can go to the LRE at the regional level. What would seem to be underfoot is an effort to try to consolidate PHPs into a single organization at the state level, where those people would now have to go to complain if the meeting is open to the public in the first place. So think about, historically and by law, we're responsible. You're responsible to meet the needs of this community. The state is responsible to help. But what's being envisioned, it seems to me, doesn't feel like help. It feels like removal from the local scene, the responsibility for caring for the people that we are here to care for. So we'll see what happens with this. We'll see is going to be our motto, I think, for a while. As Stephanie said, the state isn't really even telling the PHPs about what's up. So it's hard to imagine where this will all go. The survey is one that's embedded in that. I can send you the link if you haven't seen the link or clickable link. And we encourage people to answer. You don't have to give our answers, give your own answers. Be honest about what you think. Those questions are questions that you may have perspectives on that would help the system better understand. There's nothing wrong with responding to a survey. But most times when you look at, and then our CMHA will FOIA the answers, so we'll know what people have answered all across the state. Thousands of them will answer. We'll see what they say, and if there's information we can use as a system to improve, we certainly will want to do that. We doubt very much that it will support the action that's being talked about, but we'll see. We'll see. So, final item, on the past couple of pages, there was a discussion about our association creating or making a new pitch for the 2025 annual political action committee campaign. This is something where our association, you see in the highlights in yellow on the bottom of page 42, generally rallies about $50,000 to contribute to legislators and folks running for office. in support of perspectives that we support tend to be dwarfed by the giant amounts that other health plans and other kinds of entities put forward, but it's still important. And we've been able to do pretty good as a system in terms of generating kind of understanding and I'll say devotion to our support by politicians, despite our small size in terms of contribution. So that has everything to do with the power that you have as board members and that collectively we have as an association. You'll remember that the Community Mental Health Association is not an association of directors, it's an association of boards. So you are all members that constitute this board. So I think we will be working to try to encourage support. They often will ask boards by themselves to say, will your board support us? And a lot of times people will do things like donate a per diem to it, or, make a contribution as a group, or what do we want to do? We'll talk a little bit as an executive committee about how to get organized about that. But we as staff will support that as well. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any questions for Executive Director at this time? Hearing none, thank you very much for your report this evening. This next section is our second provision for public comment. We have a closed session scheduled after that. So is there anyone in the room that would like to address the board at this time in public comment? Second call. Mrs. Hamilton, is there anyone online?
Is there anyone online that would like to address the board?
Hearing none, I'll close this provision for public comment. We have a motion here that I would like to move and have supported. I move that the OnPoint Board of Directors meet in closed session under section 8, parentheses 1, parentheses small a of the Open Meetings Act to consider a periodic personnel evaluation of the chief executive officer, Mark Whitty, a public officer who has requested that this evaluation be discussed in a closed session. Do I hear support?
Before.
I'll take, well, it is a good suggestion. I'll take my pick. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
All opposed? We are now in closed session. Thank you very much for your attendance this evening. This has been sent to Andrew Brady. It is a very modest contract, what he gets right now. Very quick synopsis is he has the benefits that everyone else has, health-wise, retirement-wise, pension-wise. He is not asking for, it's a cost of living on the salary that he makes right now. The only thing that's absolutely, I don't know if the board's gonna go for this, but he wants 6 weeks instead of 5 vacation. And that is termed in his contract at a different rate of accumulation for that. It also provides for a look back because he is without contract, but by legal terms, he is still employed by us and is covered liability wise. So I would entertain a motion to approve the CEO's contract at this time. Someone like to make that motion?
I motion to approve the CEO's contract.
Motion by Jessica. Do I hear a support?
Support.
Support by Jane. We are spending money on this one, so
Mr. Chairman, you may want to specify the term.
for 3 years.
3-year contract, thank you. So we're not in the spot next year going,
Hey, turn these back in.
I'm sorry?
Do we have to turn these back in, your emails?
Oh, yeah, close to material, yeah.
Okay.
That's both second material. That's
Okay, sorry. I didn't want to walk away with you.
Okay, everyone understands it's a 3-year contract? All right. Karen Stratton,
Yes.
Jane Levine,
Yes.
Alice Kelsey.
Yes.
Beth Johnson,
Yes.
Crystal Dale,
Yes.
Mark Dion,
Yes.
Jessica Castaneda,
Yes.
Ben Brookhouse,
Yes.
Pam Brenner,
Yes.
and I say yes. That motion is approved. And we can have Andrew put the finishing touches on it. With that, the next thing is board member comments. Turn it over on this side. Jessica, any comments?
No, I'm just glad that it gets dark later and we'll be able to be at the beach pretty soon, so that's it. I'm gonna miss camp. I'm gonna need it in here.
Just I'll reiterate what I said earlier, just thank you for having me. I appreciate the time that I've been able to be here and, I look forward to seeing all the good things OnPoint does from a partner perspective, because I will continue to work with OnPoint every single day, so.
Karen,
I have none.
Alice,
I did want to just say, just share that, I told several friends that, I was bracing myself to come to the executive committee meeting on Friday, because I kept saying, Alice, you're gonna hear bad news. You're, just be ready for it. And I did, you know, and I even heard good news and non-bad news, right? So, the one thing that I just want to just reiterate or make sure that I've already told a couple people this, so I want to be sure this is absolutely true. So you told us, like, in your report, that continuing resolution that the Congress did and then finally finished, what, Saturday or something?
Yeah.
It moves that all current funding is gonna stay at current levels and through the end of the fiscal year.
That's right.
So we really don't need to worry that something's gonna Medicaid's gonna be
Nope.
done away with.
Nope.
Before October.
The framework that was adopted by Congress for the fiscal 26 contract or budget is the one that's being negotiated now. That's when we would be concerned about any changes.
It's the next fiscal year.
October 1.
Okay. And I thought to myself, that's really a low bar, but it's like, I'll take it. I could just nap, I could sleep until September 30th. So I just wanted to be sure that I had that absolutely right, that, because I know that, you know, if you watch the headlines, you know, there's this thing out there that says, oh, it could happen any day now, and who knows what, you know, and I just want to kind of reiterate, and I want to be sure that our staff know this, and our clients know this, and our neighbors know this, that, you know, we need to, well, we've got some work ahead of us, but we don't have to worry about it tomorrow.
Sure.
So, that's that.
start over with Jane.
I'm good.
Glenn,
Thank you, Pam. Appreciate your work.
Crystal,
No comment.
Mark,
I just want to welcome Crystal to our group and hope you have as much fun as we have. Yeah, and thank you, Pam, and Dr. Clay also.
Yeah.
It's a commitment to serve on these boards, and thank you for your time that you've had. And hopefully we'll get you back again.
My youngest son's a little older, then maybe we can.
And then I also want to thank Alice and Glenn for stepping up to move up in positions on the board. New chair and vice chair, and thank Gail for his time as chair.
thank you. Beth,
I just think Mark just got a 3-year contract, so drinks are on him.
You can play some.
the owner serves cocktails.
They're both on my way home.
This is a running joke, Crystal.
OMG has 5 bingo tonight.
Myself, I have enjoyed, being chair of this, board. And I have, seen it grow and bloom. And now we're to the point where, I can see I'm a farmer by trade, but, it's starting to bear fruit. And, I don't think that we have planted a corn stalk. I think we have planted an orchard where we will enjoy the fruits of our labor for a long, long time. And appreciate the service that you have brought to us, Pam, that other former members that have been here have brought to us. Each individual brings wonderful and beautiful characteristics to the effervescence of this board. So, and with that, I will give you the honor of adjourning this board. We stand adjourned.